Finally, I'm able to go live here. Don't know what happened or what the hell was going on, but I was finally able to get live. I don't was having an issue there, obviously, with the restream. But now I'm ready to go. I'm good. So, good evening, everyone. Hope everybody has had a good week. And yeah, I'm by myself this week. No guest, but hello. Hello, gamer. Thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. That's greatly helps with the stream and all other stuff. So, thanks for the support and hello. Hope everybody's having a great week. Hope everybody has a great weekend. My older sister is still sick, but I think she's feeling better. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So, yep, we're live on Rumble. We're live on YouTube, live on Twitter, live on Twitch. I'm live all over the place tonight. I think on Rofkin too. Should be live on Rofkin too. So I'm trying not to ignore the other platforms that I'm live on. So let's get started here on this great Friday evening. Jesus Christ. Yep. So let's get started. And I don't know why this isn't working. Lord. Excuse, it's more technical difficulties. All right, there we go. It looks like we're good now. So let's do that. As everybody knows, Vince McMahon was sued by one of his neighbors. Yeah, she was a neighbor, to be fair. And she lived in the same condo that he did, or in the same condo complex that he did. So, yeah, I mean, he met this woman for years. He allegedly, sexually assaulted her, harassed her, did a bunch of just fucked up shit to her. And it's like, some of it is just ridiculously shocking that I'm like, really? I mean, I couldn't like believe it. Like, like there is there's one particular incident which is quite gross, but yeah, I mean, we'll get to all that in a second. But for now, let's just get started on playing this.
Names in professional wrestling facing stunning new accusations, including sex trafficking over several years. A former employee accusing WWE founder and former CEO Vince McMahon of physical and emotional abuse, sexual assault, and trafficking at WWE. In the lawsuit, Janelle Grant, who worked there up until March 2022, says McMahon texted her, quote, "I'm the only one who owns you and controls who I want to expletive you." Grant's claims include sexual acts involving defecation,
I'm sorry,
restraint, and aggressive use of sex
I don't
toys.
mean to laugh. It's just I'm imagining Vince McMahon saying that in his voice, and it's like it just made me chuckle there. The defecation part is quite gross. They don't go into it here. I could go into it, but I'm gonna give a warning. It's pretty gross, so probably after this video, I'll probably get into that part.
And that McMahon forced her to have sex with him and other men at the WWE headquarters in return for job security. The new lawsuit seeks to annul a non-disclosure agreement from 2022 settled between Grant and McMahon, where she would receive $3 million. Grant says she stopped receiving payments after an initial $1 million payout.
If, as alleged, McMahon stopped making those payments, she might have a breach of contract claim. But that's not what she's really alleging in the complaint.
Well, you would figure that McMahon would make these payments. Because this is the reason why this lawsuit was filed, is because he didn't make those payments. He stiffed her. Apparently, he made $1 million payment and then never paid her again. So he stiffed her of $2 million, and that's why this lawsuit filed. And holy shit, is it a doozy? I mean, I couldn't, like, oh my god. I mean, I read through most of it. I was like, oh shit. Even if a tenth of this is true, it's horrifying. I mean, and it's disgusting and it's gross and yeah. So, but let's keep on with this.
She's alleging violations of federal human trafficking law.
In a statement, Vince McMahon's spokesperson says this lawsuit is replete with lies, obscene, made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth. He will vigorously defend himself. Last year, McMahon, who has not been criminally charged, spoke to CNBC in broad terms about his overall legacy.
Let me just say I've made mistakes, obviously, both personally and professionally through my 50-year career. I've owned up to every single one of them and then moved on.
The explosive lawsuit and graphic allegations come at a critical time for the WWE. Just this week, McMahon was at the New York Stock Exchange celebrating their newest board member, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Also,
It's another thing. The Rock was just assigned or hired to be on the board of directors of WWE, or actually TKO, to be fair. So McMahon was there. It was a big moment for WWE, TKO, whatever. And now this shit comes out. And I'm like, this is interesting timing for this lawsuit. And then on top of that, the $5 billion deal for Raw is going to Netflix starting next year. So it's just interesting timing when this lawsuit was filed.
Netflix just acquiring WWE's streaming rights worth billions of dollars. But now, all eyes on the WWE, who the plaintiff's attorney says they will hold accountable, claiming they turned a blind eye to the abuse and then swept it under the rug.
And Tom, WWE's parent company is responding to this tonight.
That's right, Lester. The parent company is called TKO, and they tell NBC News Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. While this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and are addressing this matter internally. Lester?
Yep. Well, they obviously are going to try to distance themselves from McMahon at every chance they get. TKO. Here's the thing, though. Vince McMahon is the executive chairman of the company, so I don't know how far, unless they can force him out, I don't know how far this can go. They're backpedaling and distancing themselves from him. Unless they can force him out, I don't know how. They're connected to McMahon, so they're fucked essentially, unless they can get him unless they get him, to quit the company or leave or get fired, whatever. A billionaire just had to pay out and didn't. Typical billionaire behavior. Probably doesn't tip either. No, I wouldn't be surprised, Rick. I mean, I know I've been seeing Vince McMahon on my television screen for most of my life, and his Mr. McMahon character on television is very similar to his real life persona. It seems like. So it's not just a character on television. This is who he really is, allegedly. Vince McMahon's insatiable lust. Yep. I mean, the guy is nearly 80 years old and he's acting like a teenager, or a young teenager who just loves having sex and doing whatever he has to. So he loves it. I mean, so yeah, that's that report. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Let's see, any more? 40. Yeah, I mean, yeah, his mustache is really goofy. I mean, it's like, I don't know why he decided to grow his mustache so late in life. He's been he's been clean shaven for most of his life. I don't know what made him grow a mustache at 80 years old, or 78, but whatever. To each his own, right?
World Wrestling Entertainment boss Vince McMahon is facing a salacious new lawsuit. Former WWE staffer Janelle Grant claims McMahon promised her a job and promotions in exchange for sex. Grant's lawsuit also alleges McMahon trafficked her to other men inside and outside of the company. Grant says McMahon pressured her into signing a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for hush payments totaling $3 million. McMahon's spokesman counters that the suit is...
Which he never paid, by the way. He only paid her $1 million. So classic Vince McMahon, he just stiffed her. Which is why this lawsuit was filed. Very similar to Donald Trump, tends to stiff people when he owes them money.
is, quote, replete with lies, obscene made-up instances that never occurred, and a vindictive distortion of the truth. A previous WWE investigation unearthed similar behavior by McMahon.
Well, similar behavior. Yeah, yeah, I mean, you haven't seen the picture? I mean, it's a fucking... Yeah, I mean, he has a goofy, like, little mustache here, from here to here. And it's like, it's not like mine, it's kind of like, shaved up here, it looks kind of ridiculous, but, you know. So, let's go to my Twitter page. All right, so now before I read this, I do need to give a viewer discretion is advised type thing because, or if you're hearing this, because this is the defecation part and it's quite gross, but I figured I would cover it because, it's in the lawsuit. So just letting you know, if you have a soft stomach, you probably should either mute this part, click off, whatever, and then come back in a few minutes because I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but oops, I didn't mean to do that. Alright, so let's make this bigger, if I can find the shit. Ah, here we go. Make this bigger, because I can't see it myself. Hold on. No, okay. Oh, come on. Alright. Let's do this instead. No. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Ah, here you go. So, yep. So, as I'm gonna read this part, but this real quick, and then I'll move on. As one example of McMahon's extreme depravity, on May 9th, 2020, he defecated on... Hold on, I gotta get rid of the INN logo. Because where is it, though? Here we go. Just real quick. As one example of McMahon's extreme depravity, on May 9th, 2020, he defecated on Miss Grant during a threesome, and then commanded her to continue pleasuring his friend, not named in the lawsuit, by the way, with feces in her hair and running down her back, while McMahon went to the bathroom to shower off. Upon his return from the bathroom, McMahon and his friend actively resumed the threesome, which lasted over an hour and a half, while Miss Grant remained covered in McMahon's filth. When McMahon's friend left, McMahon ordered her to stay and continued to sexually gratify him. So, yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened, and that's quite, there it is, that's what he did to her. He allegedly, again, it's the key word, allegedly, because I don't want to, be guilty of telling, and I don't want to be guilty of, saying that he did it, but this is alleged. He shit on her head during a threesome and then ordered her to continue to do it, and even after, didn't let her clean up, and then continued to essentially make her, have intercourse and gratify him while she was still covered in his shit. So that's basically what happened there, and it's like, holy shit. Yeah, I'm like, all right, this is why TKO had Vince be a majority shareholder in case something bad happened. They can buy back his shares and the board can vote him off and divide the shares among themselves. Yeah, they had some sort of, I'm sure they had some sort of exit with McMahon because They bought the company after he came back and after this initial scandal came out. So they knew that this was a possibility. They would have to force him out or do something where he'd be gone from the company. And I think that process already begun. I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that they're getting ready to force him out at some point. Even if The Rock is on their board of directors, but even if The Rock is on their board of directors, still, I mean, ultimately he's gonna be out of this company sooner rather than later. So I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight or today, whatever. If you haven't, please like and please support the stream that way. Excuse me. So now let's get to this. Another part of this suit, which in March. All right, so this is another part whereas the UFC, whoops, oh come on, the UFC heavyweight champion that was listed in the lawsuit. So in March 2020, McMahon began sharing sexually explicit photos and videos of Miss Grant, including pornographic content he recorded, with other men, both inside and outside the company, including members of the television production tech team, executives, and producer, and a world famous athlete and former UFC heavyweight champion, whom WWE is actively trying to sign to a new contract, and ultimately did sign that new contract. I mean, if you look at the time period, March 2020, like it had to be Brock Lesnar. There's nobody else at the time that Vince was trying to sign, and that was a former UFC heavyweight champion. So yeah, I wasn't able to screen grab the bottom part, but I'm gonna summarize it here real quick. Oops. Well, basically, what happened is McMahon allegedly sent Brock Lesnar this photo of her nude, these nude photos and videos, and Brock quote unquote liked what he saw. So some McMahon, I assume McMahon gave her her phone number, and then he ordered her to send him a video of her urinating. She did that, and then allegedly he called her a bitch. Which honestly, if you read this lawsuit, it's small potatoes compared to everything else she's been through. Even if a tenth of this is true, even if a tenth is true, it's still disturbing, quite disturbing. So it's like, holy shit. I mean, it's Vince McMahon's fecal misadventures. Interesting learning about these people I grew up watching on TV. Yeah, I mean, usually the people you grew up watching, they're still ultimately, they're humans and they're going to, be fucked in the head, especially if they're a billionaire who got away with a lot of shit throughout his life. Yeah. So there's also another incident which I didn't, which is in this New York Times article. If I can share this, oops, if I bothered sharing it, that'd be nice. I was about to read an article I didn't even share. There you go. Bear with me. All right. Former World Wrestling Entertainment. The lawsuit was filed in district court in Connecticut over allegations of misconduct, sexually exploited, and trafficked the former WWE employee Janelle Grant from 2019-2022. Another WWE executive, John Laurinaitis, aka Johnny Ace, and the company itself were also named as defendants. Mr. McMahon also pressured Ms. Grant to sign a non-disclosure agreement, the suit says, which he agreed to pay her $3 million in exchange for not discussing their relationship. By the way, he stiffed her in the last $2 million. Never paid her, so not shocking there whatsoever, which is why this lawsuit was filed. The lawsuit seeks to void the non-disclosure agreement and also seeks unspecified amounts of punitive damages and legal fees. Ann Callis, lawyer for Ms. Grant, declined to comment. Blah, blah, blah. Graphics descriptions. So Yeah, so I'm gonna when Miss Grant miss yeah when Miss Grant met Mr. McMahon 2019, the complaint says her parents had recently died. She was unemployed. Mutual friends suggested that she contact Mr. McMahon about a possible job at WWE. When the two met, Mr. McMahon greeted her wearing only his underwear, according to the complaint. All right, if let's say I was meeting a potential employer and I walk into their apartment or house or whatever condo, and that individual is wearing their underwear or just meeting me in their underwear. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna turn around and fuck right off, go back where I came from. Because clearly, this old man is a pervert, and chances are this individual's not gonna meet me in their underwear. I'm not a woman, but still, I mean, if that happened to me, I would turn right around and fuck right off. But that's just me. All right. So after promising her a position of power and a high salary within WWE, Mr. McMahon eventually offered Miss Grant an entry-level position on the company's legal staff in June 2019 in exchange for sex, according to the lawsuit. Miss Grant felt trapped in an impossible situation, the complaint says, submitting to to McMahon's sexual demands or facing ruin. Once she was working at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, the abuse intensified. Mr. McMahon took nude photos of her and filmed them having sex, the complaint says. He showed the photos and videos to other employees, later used them to intimidate her to silence, according to the complaint. The relationship grew increasingly violent and corrosive, according to the lawsuit. Mr. McMahon pressured Miss Grant into having sex with other people, the complaint says, including the other executive named as a defendant, Mr. Laurinaitis. In one episode of the suit, Miss Grant says Mr. McMahon and Mr. Laurinaitis locked her in an office and took turns SAing her. And I can't use this word in particular because YouTube's censors come and get me, which is why I'm using SA. If you read here, you understand what I'm trying to say there. Pics or it didn't happen. I mean, he took pics of her allegedly, so I'm not sure if McMahon still has them or not. In 2022, Mr. McMahon told Miss Grant that his wife had learned of their relationship and that Miss Grant's time in WWE was at an end. The lawsuit says he began to pressure Miss Grant to sign a non-disclosure agreement to guarantee her silence. In exchange, Mr. McMahon promised her $3 million. The complaint said he paid the first million, but failed to make further payments, according to the suit. In other words, he stiffed her. And this is one contract you shouldn't have stiffed her, because that way none of this probably ever came out. But the sexual coercion continued until March 2022, 2 months after Mr. McMahon signed the non-disclosure agreement, which, which mentions Mr. McMahon's business negotiation with a person described in a complaint as a WWE superstar to persuade the wrestler to sign a new contract with WWE. Mr. McMahon, I already read you this part, so the superstar allegedly was Brock Lesnar, even though he's not named in the suit. So lawyers for McMahon could not be reached. No statement. Miss Grant's lawsuit says the abuse he suffered at the hands of Mr. McMahon and others caused a debilitating post-traumatic stress and thoughts of suicide. When she was forced out of WWE, she obtained the jobs in the operations department of her apartment building. She lost that job, according to the lawsuit, because lingering trauma left her unable to leave her home for weeks at a time. Lawyers of Mr. McMahon can now reach for comment. Legal action draws new questions about the investigation conducted in 2022 by Special Committee WWE's Board of Directors into Mr. McMahon's conduct. The investigators found that Mr. McMahon had paid $14.6 million between 2006 and 2022 on payments to women who had accused him of sexual misconduct, and that the payments should have been recorded as business expenses. Further investigation by the company found Mr. McMahon had made additional payments totaling $5 million to two other women on top of that. The board's investigating committee never bothered to interview Miss Grant, according to the lawsuit, which describes the investigation as a sham. At the time, I said that investigation was bullshit. I mean, they weren't ever going to find all these women that McMahon allegedly, harassed, assaulted, whatever. So at this time, 2022, when McMahon claimed that his wife found out about the affair, I don't think he gave a shit about that, because ultimately him and Linda have been separated for years. And as everybody knows, Linda McMahon's in Republican politics now, and she was in the Trump administration as the small business administration leader, I believe. But yeah, I mean, and I think the real reason, because he's beginning the process of selling WWE. So he didn't want this coming out, obviously. So I don't think he gave a shit about his wife finding out or not finding out. So BKM went mad post billionaire status. Yeah, I mean, I think he was mad long before that, but it's gotten worse over the years. I mean, all the scandals McMahon had from I'm trying, and there's so many that I can't even like fully like remember all of them, because I grew up I grew up watching WWE, and uh, I grew up on all this shit. So I'm like, yeah, this is dating back to what, the late '80s, when allegedly the WWE had a child sex scandal. If you guys remember that, if you're old enough to remember that and saw the coverage at the time, McMahon had to fire like 3 or 4 people who were allegedly involved in this child sex scandal ring. Then the steroids trial from the 92, 93, I believe, and gone past that, the booking of the WWF or E during the Attitude Era. Holy shit. I mean, and post that until the PG era. Now we go to today, where all these women are allegedly being paid off, and McMahon was, so. And even before that, if you go, I forgot about this. When you go back to the early '80s, when the Nancy Argentino murder, where Superfly Jimmy Snuka allegedly killed her after a cocaine fueled anger spurt. So allegedly what happened was McMahon went to the police, because this happened in Allentown, Pennsylvania. So he went to the police with a briefcase. Don't know what's in that briefcase, but you guys, I guess, can guess in the chat what was in that briefcase. So he went to with a briefcase. He he had an hour-long meeting with these cops. I think it's the captain and the chief of police. No, the lead detective and chief of police. And by the time that hour meeting ended, he was gone. He didn't have the briefcase anymore, and he told Superfly that he didn't have to worry about it anymore. And he didn't for 30 plus years. It was completely forgot. The case was, cold until 2015, when a local journalist in Allentown found the case, discovered all this evidence, and had the case reopened. And there was public pressure. It was reopened, and the Superfly was charged with what was it? It wasn't first, I think second degree murder or something. Ultimately, he had dementia and he passed away shortly after. But yeah, apparently, allegedly, Vince McMahon covered up a murder. So this is the type of guy he is. Because at the time, he bought the WWF at what, in '83? So, and the Superfly was one of his top stars. So he didn't want one of his top stars going to prison, for the rest of his life. It'll hurt his business because that's his top star. This is before Hogan came in '84, but he was one of his top stars, and he didn't want to lose him, and he didn't want to be embarrassed. So it was like, anyways, it was like, yeah, I need to protect my superstar, pal. So he did it, he paid off the cops, he didn't, there was no issues, no embarrassment for WWF. And then he brought in Hogan late '83, I think it was. He hired him back, and, he decided that Hogan's going to be his top star. And by January '84, Hogan was the champion. So there you go. He's the world heavyweight champion, and off they go with the national expansion. So, but yeah, I mean, Vince McMahon has done a lot of fucked up shit, and I'm going to move on now, because I'm sure you guys want to hear about more important things, right? Than that, because I can go on. There's a lot of other gross shit in that lawsuit, but ultimately, I'm not going. Yeah, I think you guys get the point. So now let's get to let's get to Donald Trump and the lawsuit and the E. Jean Carroll case, because there was a ruling today. There was a ruling that Trump, of course, was found guilty of more defamation. I mean, I just noticed in the chat, not paying attention. So Vince McMahon's evil mustache says, "I did everything. Vince is innocent." So I wouldn't be confessing to anything if I were you, but I mean, whatever. Vince McMahon's evil mustache also says, "Go on." Okay, well, I'm moving on from any Vince McMahon content for now, so whatever. He was buddy buddy with Trump. And in fact, Trump made an appearance at WrestleMania. I think it was 25, I believe, I remember correctly. He did the Battle of the Billionaires match, which was, I think, Bobby Lashley against Umaga. So, and of course, Donald Trump was the baby face or the good guy in this angle in this match, which is interesting because everybody hates Trump now, for the most part. But he's the baby face, in that match, and it's evil mustache McMahon says, "I'm a mustache. What are they going to do?" Well, that's a good point. You know what I mean? You can't prosecute a mustache. Old man Barker says, "I was little Hulkamaniac." Almost, if you lived through Hogan's initial 4-year title run, yeah, I mean, you were a Hulkamaniac, most likely. Like, who would have hated Hogan in 84 or 85 or 86 or 87 or 88? He was champion for 4 years. I mean, there's a reason for that. He was over, fans loved him. If he wasn't over, then Trump's move was the orange whip. Orange whip, I get it. No shit, where do you think he learned to work a crowd? Well, I mean, what you gonna do, brother, when Hulkamania runs wild on you? Oh, say your vitamins, say your vitamins. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins. The vitamins basically were Hogan's steroids or cocaine, depending of what you're talking about at that moment. So, yeah, let's try to get to on topic here, because I would love to keep talking wrestling, but this really isn't a wrestling podcast. Even though I've thought about starting a wrestling podcast, but I don't know. I'd rather do it with a host or somebody, or at least a co-host or something. So I've thought about doing a wrestling podcast, but I prefer to do it with a co-host. Actually, talking old wrestling. I mean, today's stuff is mostly crap, and I'm sure you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me complaining about it. But oh, by the way, shameless plug here. Follow me on Twitter. There's my main account at AngelJRivera08. My backup, which I never use, but occasionally I do, the Bad Guy AR. So follow those accounts, especially my main one. So you should talk to Miss Witchy Perfect. I know her, and I think she has her own wrestling podcast too. She has her own podcast, and we've talked wrestling plenty of times on Twitter. So I know her. We have Vince McMahon's mustache again. I know nothing about wrestling, but some names and a few fights. It's something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard Day. Yeah, I mean, I've listened to his podcast. I mean, but quite frankly, he's not going to be honest about any of this because he's Vince McMahon's top lieutenant for decades, and he's not named in this lawsuit. I'm not saying that he is. I mean, Laurinaitis is another one of his top lieutenants, but I was busy doing what Vince was accused of. So Vince McMahon's evil mustache is taking responsibility. So good to know. I smell a collaboration. Look, if she's open to it, I'm open to it too. I mean, because I would like to talk wrestling with somebody, and I don't want to just sit here and do it by myself. But let's get to. I can keep talking wrestling all day, but I want to get to this. Also want to talk about the International Court of Justice ruling against Israel. basically deciding that they're committing a genocide at the moment, but they stopped short of calling for an immediate ceasefire, which of course is not really that surprising when you think about it. But I'll get to that a little bit later. I can't resist Vince McMahon's evil mustache. I will body slam Andre a Giant if he lets you. But let's get to this yet.
We do have a verdict. E. Jean Carroll did suffer more than nominal damages as a result of Mr. Trump's publication of these two June 2019 statements. The first amount for compensatory damages for her emotional pain and anguish is $7.3 million. The amount for the compensatory damages for the reputation repair program is $11 million. We're now moving on to the questions about whether Trump acted with malice. Remember, the questions have to be answered in the affirmative to get to a question of punitive damages. We are still waiting for that answer.
As you wait for those answers,
that Mr. Trump acted with malice. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump acted with malice in making the first of those statements. That's the June 21st, 2019 statement at 5:17 p.m. in which he denied it for the first time. And similar.
Zionism is cancer, which I agree, says. Just got here, so Vince is trying to recreate the two girls, one cup as two guys, one cup, with his and his friend. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, honestly, unless it was accidental. Because here's the thing, McMahon was at that point, 76 years old? So maybe he can't control his bowels and somehow shit on her head. Don't know how that happened. Either he did it on purpose or it was a pure accident. And I don't know what position he would have, been in order to shit on her head, but that's all I have to say about that. I mean, if I go any further, it'll probably be pretty gross. So let's get back to this now.
Similarly, we are waiting to hear whether in making that yes. And June 22nd, 2019, he did also act maliciously or out of hatred or ill will in defaming her on that day. And here comes the punitive damages award of $65 million, Alicia. So $65 million in punitives, $11 million in the reputation repair program, and $7.3 million in in the emotional harm, for a total of $83.3 million. That's a high eight-figure award. I had predicted we'd be high eight figures or early 100 million. Certainly less money, I think, that E. Jean Carroll's lawyers had hoped, but $83.3 million is nothing to sneeze.
Multiple things. One, good luck collecting that money. That's not, Trump ain't paying a dime of that money. Just like Vince McMahon's gonna stiff that woman that filed a lawsuit against him. Trump is gonna stiff E. Jean Carroll. She'll never see a dime of that money. He'll file for bankruptcy almost immediately, and she won't see a dime of that money. So, oh, by the way, this is also the woman who claimed during an interview, I forget with who, she said that rape was fun, or SA was fun. I mean, I just, blurted it out, but whatever. She said it was fun. So, what the hell are we taking this woman seriously? And on top of that, she didn't remember the exact date of the assault, the alleged SA. She couldn't remember details about it. She couldn't remember anything. And on top of that, I saw somebody on Twitter says her story is very similar to a Law and Order Special Victim Unit episode. So I'm like, really? I've seen nearly every single episode of Law and Order Special Victims Unit. So SVU. I keep calling it SUV, but yeah, I don't remember that episode. But nonetheless, let's go back to the chat. Fred Edward 2 says gross enough already. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty gross. Vince McMahon's evil mustache says they're always breakaway glass. So if you haven't already, please like the stream. That helps quite a bit. Obviously, with the channel, I'm pretty sure I'm being shadow banned too. But whatever. And I'm going to keep plugging away. So here's E. Jean Carroll exiting the courtroom after she was awarded tens of millions of dollars, which she'll never see. Because my prediction is Trump isn't going to pay her. Trump isn't going to pay her a dime of this money.
E. Jean Carroll is now emerging from the court. She's in the company of her attorney, Roberta Kaplan, who has her arm around E. Jean Carroll.
Oh, by the way, if you guys remember the history of this lawsuit, that attorney right there, this one right here, on the right hand side, the woman, she went to the New York legislature in Albany and asked them to pass a law, which I forget what it's called right now. It's the Adult Victims Act or something like that, which repealed the statute of limitations temporarily for just a year on sexual assault lawsuits like this. And as soon as the bill was passed, this woman immediately filed a lawsuit against Trump. As soon as the law was passed, I'm talking about as like literally, she was waiting for the law to pass and she filed this lawsuit. So you guys tell me, was this a coordinated plan between the Democratic Party and this lawyer here? I'm sure that it was. I mean, just based off that story right there, I'm like, yeah, there's something strange going on here. So clearly, Trump was never going to win this lawsuit, no matter what, no matter how he fought, no matter what evidence he had, he's never going to win this lawsuit. All right, let's go back to the evil mustache here. If you want that real wrestling, hit up those juggalos. Oh, well, they're. So let's keep watching and see.
There in sunglasses and wearing a white coat. On the other side of her is her other attorney, Sean Crowley. Big smiles on their faces as they pause to have their picture taken, not only by the assembled reporters, but by a number of onlookers. Every time E. Jean Carroll has been in court, along with the former president, it has certainly drawn a crowd of onlookers. She is not going to pause at the microphones. Instead, she is getting into a waiting car, but clearly pleased by this $83.3 million jury award following the 4-day trial here in Lower Manhattan.
Which she'll never see. She'll see again. I'm going to keep repeating this because she'll never see a dime of that money. Because Trump has a history of stiffing people, and there's zero chance of her seeing a dime of that money. But nonetheless, I mean, maybe because most likely what ends up happening is Donald Trump's going to file for some sort of bankruptcy protection before those payments are due. Let's see. Here's some deep state shit. Ask the tunneling Jews. I mean, the Democratic Party is clearly behind this lawsuit. I meant the International Criminal Court case. Maybe that case too. All right, so I know Trump's attorney spoke. I should have saved the video, but I didn't. Here it is. This is the video I was talking about. So I'm going to play this. Jury in Manhattan ruled that Donald Trump must pay $83 million to the S.A. is sexy lady. Her accusation is also the exact plot line for a Law & Order SVU episode. Again, I don't remember that episode. It may be true. I don't know. Oops. If I try sharing my screen, that might work. So let's watch this. This is where she says S.A. is sexy. That's what
I feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Oops. You hear that? That's the woman who got $83 million more from Donald Trump. And she got $83 million from Trump. You see that woman, you think she's traumatized by her experience, her quote-unquote experience? I mean, there's no way in hell. Or as old man Barker says, no chance in hell. Completely agree. The evil mustache is back. Hold on. He says it's a witch hunt. I actually agree with that. So he also says, MAGA 2024, please don't prosecute me. Mastermind Hour says, lien. Well, here, I mean, she could put a lien on his properties or on, whatever he owns, but ultimately, I think a bankruptcy would put a hold on any liens. And we all know how Donald Trump loves to use the bankruptcy laws in his favor. So, Mikhail Johnson, welcome. That's the first time probably seeing you. The word rape has a violent connotation. I completely agree. So she's acting like, oh no, but it's sexy. What are you talking about? This is the woman who got $83 million because allegedly Donald Trump defamed her, and she was traumatized by her experience, even though she just said this.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
like even Anderson Cooper is like, oh shit, I gotta take a break. I mean, this woman is out of her mind. I gotta take a break and have her, calm down for a second. What the hell was that? She said SA was sexy. Holy crap. So here's Fox News and their reaction.
Damages amount, unprecedented damages amount. The whole point of this enormous damages amount, unprecedented damages amount, is to tell Donald Trump to shut up. Right? If you could think of it this way, every time Donald Trump wants to insult Jean Carroll, he's going to have to write a $40 million check for each sentence. That's how bad this is. I can't believe his lawyers haven't succeeded in just telling him, look, campaign for president, run for president, make your accusations about a two-tiered justice system, but leave this alone. Stop attacking people who are no longer public citizens. Stop attacking people where you've already lost and the court has already said what you've done is liable, because every time he insults her again, he's going to have to cut another $20 to $30 million check.
So with that $20-30 million check,
no, he's not, because he's never going to pay her. So
the temptation is not to let this go unanswered. He's going to answer. He's going to say something. His lawyers are going to tell him not to. But what is the risk there? If he makes no more derogatory comments and just comments on this being an obscene amount of money.
I don't care about that. She thinks people find it sexy. Not sure what she meant, honestly. I don't think there is rape porn videos in hentai. I, don't know about that. I mean, but, I'm sure somebody does. So that's not interesting. It's just Neil Cavuto. He's pretty boring. So let's see. I know there's a video of Trump's attorney. Here, I think this is the one I'm looking for. Tapper cuts Haba's statement short, so you're getting an idea how Donald Trump's attorney is perceived as effective as she is, which is not particularly effective. All right, that's not the one exactly I'm looking for. I think this is the one, I think. So this is Donald Trump's attorney. Haba something, I forget her last name, or even if I'd remembered it, I'd probably butcher it. So I'll play some of this.
No. I'm glad you asked me that question. No, I'm not having any second thoughts about representing President Trump. It is the proudest thing I could ever do. What I am having second thoughts about is the license that I stand here with that the people in there are supposed to have. I have not spoken because I respect my ethics while I'm on trial. But let me now speak about what has happened. I have sat on trial after trial for months in this state, the state of New York. Attorney General Letitia James, and now this. Weeks. Why? Because President Trump is leading in the polls, and now we see what you get in New York. So don't get it twisted, whoever asked me that question. I am so proud to stand with President Trump. But I am not proud to stand with what I saw in that courtroom. I'm not finished. Let me just finish and I'll take questions, please. Before I walked into court, that judge decided that every single defense President Trump had, we were not allowed to raise in front of the jury.
Which is true. I mean, that judge ruled against everything. All the evidence that Trump had did not come in. Very convenient, huh? That is 100% true, by the way. I mean, there was is even I read articles on that. How no, your evidence is not allowed. We already decided you were guilty. It's just that we're trying to decide how much money that the former president has to pay. There's a actually manga in Japan called Rape Man. You can guess the plot. No, I mean I can guess the plot for sure. I bet she let Trump grab her by her legal briefs. Look again. I mean, I'm not sure why she's representing Trump. It probably would be for the intention. Because look at this. Look at how much media is all over her right now, and she's never going to get this type of attention if it wasn't for representing Trump. So I'm not sure. I mean, if she's expecting Trump to pay her legal fees, he's going to stiff her. It's like he stiffs everybody. So I hope it's not about the money. I hope it's about the exposure and the attention she gets.
It is in writing, and I encourage the journalists, the real journalists, to take the minute to look at his orders. There was no proof, and I couldn't prove that she didn't bring in the dress. There was no DNA. There was no expert. My experts were denied. Two of them were denied to come in. They didn't let me bring up that Reid Hoffman funded Miss Kaplan. And you know what we got in there? That my witness, who was her friend, who said that she is a drug addict and the drug addict is herself. That friend, I found out in there, was paid for by Miss Kaplan's firm, and that is disgusting. That is a violation of everything I stand for, and that is why I stand with Trump. And that is why so many Americans are so proud that he is running again and so excited to run to the ballot box. But don't get it twisted. We are seeing a violation of our justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not allowed to be stripped of every defense that you have.
This should be appealed. If what she's saying is true, which I wouldn't be surprised that's the case, this needs to be appealed. This needs to be appealed up to another court because obviously, this judge had it in for Trump. It's so fucking obvious. Let's see. Mastermind Hours says, I think she already got a book deal. It's possible. I wouldn't be surprised she got some sort of book deal out of this because the Lincoln Project. Oh, look at this bullshit. Twitter account Biden wins, keeping score of President Biden's wins, the largest online community of President Biden supporters. 308,000 followers. I'm shocked that any people follow a Biden account. Lincoln Project just released this devastating ad highlighting Republican voters' displeasure with Donald Trump. Retweet to ensure the whole country sees. Oh, but I'm pretty sure these are all New Hampshire voters, right? So let me see. I'll probably correct this nonsense afterwards, but let's see.
Donald Trump really disgraced himself.
But I think that he's not a very honest person.
I believe that instead of making America...
No shit. Why is that dude shocked by that Trump's not really an honest person? Hold on.
Himself.
But I think that he's not very honest.
He's not a very honest person. No shit. I'm from New Jersey. I know Donald Trump's history from when he was a young man in college to today. We've seen plenty of Trump here in New Jersey. So yeah, no shit. He's not an honest guy. All right. The evil mustache is that Twisted Ed out of Twisted Ed Metal Show Out. Twisted Ed. Okay, I get it. So let's get back to this.
Honest person.
I believe that instead of
these are all New Hampshire voters, I'm pretty sure.
Making America great again, he made America hate again.
I am
sounds like a shit lib Democrat, not a Republican, but let's keep
completely against Donald Trump and everything he stands for. Anything I can do to keep him out.
He did a real disservice to our country on January 6th.
My conscience won't allow me to...
Sounds like another shit lib Democrat. It's like, he did a real disservice to this country on January 6th. It's like, oh no, not one of these January 6th fucks.
Why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
Because I think that Donald Trump is more of an existential threat.
Anything
Based on what? Only thing you see, only on what you've seen in the media?
but Trump.
That was your priority.
That's my priority.
Is that the biggest reason you supported Nikki Haley?
Yeah, I'd say.
What do you like about Haley? What are some of the attributes that drew you to her?
Dick.
She's not Trump.
Yes.
That's it. See, Dick. They don't care about her. They just care if she's not Trump.
I voted for him in 2016. I am a registered Republican, and I regretted that vote almost immediately.
Is there anything Donald Trump can do to win back your vote between now and November, if he is the guy?
No. So here's the thing about New Hampshire, though. It's an open primary. So that tells you that Democrats can vote in it, independents can vote in it. And it turns out that Nikki Haley's base was mostly Democrats and independents that hated Trump. That was her base. That's all she had. No, I think about 30% of her voter base was Republican. The rest of them were independents or Democrats, or unaffiliated voters. That was most of her base. So, yeah, there was no chance that Nikki Haley wins South Carolina. I'm surprised she's staying in the race for South Carolina. She's going to get humiliated in her home state. She's going to lose her home state like 40 or 50 points. And I'm shocked she's staying in. I assumed she would drop out, and I was wrong. She's apparently staying in as of now. So he says, do not get that rich by being honest. Nope, definitely not. You don't get rich by being honest. Not at all. Jury deliberations are underway. What? Joe Scarborough slams Donald Trump for ramming through tax cuts for billionaires and promising to do more. Scarborough rightly identifies another Trump presidency as a presidency for the rich. Wait, Joe Scarborough, all fucking people are saying that? This is the dude who was pro tax cuts for the rich under Obama. What happened now? All of a sudden now tax cuts are bad? And what a hypocrite. Let me say this.
Tax cuts for billionaires and multinational corporations. That's what Donald Trump gave in his.
Oh, and you benefit from those tax cuts, I'm sure, being a multimillionaire. But now, because you're on MSNBC, you have to hate Trump instead of, praising him for the tax cuts, like what Joe Scarborough would usually do.
First term, that's one of the few things that he got passed. It was tax cuts for billionaires and multinational corporations. He bragged about it. He said to his billionaire friends after he passed it.
Of course he did. He's a fucking Republican. Why wouldn't he brag about it to his donors?
He goes, I just made you all a lot of money. Mika, he's promising again tax cuts for the rich, tax cuts for billionaires, tax cuts for multinational corporations, and tax increases for working Americans through tariffs.
That's not a tax increase on working Americans. That's a tariff. I mean, that's two different things.
You can believe him.
I don't know. Oh, I thought Donald Trump was a big liar. Apparently, no. When it comes to that, you have to believe him 100%. Only in MSNBC. Oh, the whole Texas thing. You know what? I probably should get to that because real quick, I'll cover that. You guys, I'm assuming you guys heard about what's going on in Texas, right? With the whole border crisis thing, where the Texan government put spikes on the border in the ocean, not ocean, but the river there, whatever, and and the Supreme Court ordered that the government of Texas, the Texas National Guard, had to remove that. And of course, the Texas National Guard say, no, we're not removing it. And there's nothing you could do about it. So right now, we're kind of having a bit of a constitutional crisis here because the Supreme Court has ruled on that had to remove the spikes. The Texas government's refusing to move the spikes, even with the Supreme Court decision. And also the state of Oklahoma is also backing they're also backing Texas and sending the Oklahoma National Guard to the area. So right now we're about to have a standoff between the federal government and the state of Texas and the state of Oklahoma. So here we go again with Republicans openly ignoring a Supreme Court decision, and Democrats are powerless to do anything about it. And I suspect those spikes will continue to stay up as long as nothing is done about it. So let's get to my last story of the day, because I don't expect to stay on much longer because I'm tired. And I'm sure you guys want to get to the weekend. So, here, and let me play this real quick. See, this is what I was talking about. Oops. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt has declared that he is sending Oklahoma National Guard to support Texas in his ongoing border dispute with the federal government after President Donald Trump called on other states to do so.
Texas to help Greg Abbott. Are you going to do that? The former president, Donald Trump, has suggested to all the Republican governors out there, send members of your state's National Guard. In your case, Governor, it would be the Oklahoma National Guard. Send them down to Texas to help Greg Abbott. Are you going to do that?
Absolutely. You know, I've done it once before, and we're looking. I already talked to my TAG, my General Mancino. We've already started putting the numbers together. We'll be in contact with Governor Abbott.
Yeah. So
the former president, Donald Trump, has suggested to.
They're openly saying, "Yeah, I'm going to send National Guard to help Greg Abbott with the." So now let's get to Israel, because this is my last story of the night, and I'm going to wrap up in about 15-20 minutes. In a 15-2 vote, the ICJ has issued a demand for Israel to take all necessary measures to prevent acts of genocide in Gaza. The court has also called on Hamas to properly release all hostages. Notably, the interim ruling does not include an explicit order for a ceasefire. So let's go to this one now. I'll play that clip in a moment, but let's go to this one. Breaking the ICJ rulings against the ICJ rules against Israel. I think that's a typo there. In favor of South Africa. In 15-2, the state of Israel should take all measures to prevent a commission of a genocide to Gaza. 15-2, the state of Israel shall ensure that the military not commit any acts of genocide. 16-1, Israel shall take all measures to punish all public solicitations of genocide. 15-2, Israel should take effective. Wait, I missed one. 16-1, Israel shall take immediate and effective measures to address adverse conditions to life in the Gaza Strip. 15-2, Israel shall take effective measures to preserve evidence of actions impacting the Genocide Convention. 15-2, Israel shall submit to the court a report of all measures taken to follow the orders of this court within 1 month. By the way, don't hold your breath in that report. Israel is not going to send you a goddamn thing. Don't hold your breath if you're expecting that report. So let's actually play. Oops, the hell, man. Let's actually play this, because
for these reasons, the court indicates the following provisional measures. 1. By 15 votes to 2, the State of Israel shall, in accordance with its obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in relation to the Palestinians in Gaza, take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, A, killing members of the group, B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. For these reasons, the court indicates...
So, here's the thing with this vote. It's great. Is it great? Sure, you can definitely make that argument that it's great. It finally, Israel, it's... Oh, by the way, do you know what Israel states about the defense, about the ruling? And their response is anti-Semitic. Well, of course, that's all. They always go to that. They always go to the anti-Semitic thing, because ultimately that's what it's all about. They are going to claim anti-defamation, or not anti-defamation. They're going to claim anti-Semitism because that's what they always do. That's what they always do. All right, so the Canadian government, let's see their reaction. The Canadian government claims to support the International Court of Justice as an institution, yet openly rejects the premise of South Africa genocide case against Israel, which the International Criminal Court said it was valid. Canada wants to have an imperial Kate needed to. So let's see. Canada supports the ICJ's critical role in peaceful settlement of disputes and work in upholding the international rule-based order. Our support of the ICJ does not mean that we accept the premise brought by South Africa. It is for the ICJ to make a final decision in the case, which is not done. We will watch the case very closely. Yeah, they already did. They at least they made a decision that Israel could be is guilty of some sort of genocide crime. So let's see. Excuse me. Sorry. Oh, let me get to the reason. Let me get to Netanyahu. Because I saw. Hold on. Here we go. So now that's really important right now. Here it is. So this is Bibi himself can literally brag to Ben Shapiro that Israel has infiltrated the United States government, and no one bats an eye. Like, he literally admits to, like, yeah, we've infiltrated U.S. government, and there's nothing you can do about it. So fuck you. Oops, get rid of that.
But you're in the wrong place. And he said, why? He said, because you should be in America. He said, why America? He said, because America will be the rising power in the world. There may be a world conflict. America will emerge as the great power, and America can make Britain do what Britain doesn't want to do. That is, recognize a Jewish state. Well, they went to America. Jabotinsky died, and my father continued alone during the during the war years, agitating for Zionism. He was all of 32. And he began, that's in 1942. He decided to do something that no Jewish leader did before. He went to the Republicans. And he went to Senator Taft, who was a very great senator, because Roosevelt would not hear of a Jewish state. He was absolutely opposed to it. He didn't want to antagonize the British. He thought that the British wanted to cater to the Arabs. He simply would not do it. He was a great leader, but it was for the Jewish people, that wasn't good. So not being able to persuade the Democrats, he went to the Republicans. And he said to Senator Taft to advocate, to put in the Republican National Convention on the platform, support for unrestricted Jewish immigration in a Jewish state. Well, Roosevelt didn't like it, but 3 months later, he had no choice. The Democratic National Convention adopted a similar platform. So in many ways, my father was the progenitor of the bipartisan American support for Israel. But of course,
he's proud of that. I mean, his father was, the main person responsible for a lot of the Zionism in the U.S., and he's proud of that. If it wasn't for my father, man, we would not have a state of Israel right now. So yeah, I'm in charge now. There's nothing you can do about it, and we've infiltrated the U.S. government, and you can go fuck yourselves, America. Oh, you're against my war. You're against everything I stand for, you're against Zionism, then you must be anti-Semitic, right? I mean, that's what Netanyahu's position is. Like, a lot of anti-Semitism, a lot of a lot of anti-Semitism, a lot of bullshit. So yeah, I think I have nothing else really to talk about tonight. So I'm going to start wrapping up now. I'm going to next week. I'll be back next Friday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. And by the way, there was somebody in the chat I noticed that says, "Well, you should change the name of your show because you're on in the evenings." Yeah, but here's the thing: when you go to the West Coast and the Central, I'm technically still on in the afternoon. So as of now, I don't think I'll be changing the name of the show unless I decide to later. So it'll stay, yeah, it'll still be Angel in the Afternoon, but I'm open to changing it. It's just that my excuse is, well, in the certain parts in the United States, it's still the afternoon. So even though this is the time I do my show here because I can't do it during the day anymore. So yeah, so that's why, I still do it, and I still name the show. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap up now. Most likely, I'll have some sort of guest on next week, so I'll go back to having guests. Just that this week, I never really asked anybody, and it was Thursday night, and then Friday morning, and I'm like, who's gonna come on the last second? Like nobody. So I decided to do the show by myself this week. But next week, most likely, I will have a guest. Of course, I don't know who, which is why I'm not announcing it now. I usually don't know who. So unless I start reaching out to people in advance so I can tell you next week who's going to come on. So for now, though, I don't know who's going to come on. We'll see. So you'll find out Thursday or Friday next week. But for now, I hope you guys have a great night. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Don't overdrink. Don't put yourself in danger. And I'm going to see you guys next week. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you Monday. Or Monday. I just said Friday. Why am I saying Monday? I'm all over the place. But I'll see you guys next Friday. I don't intend to stream on Monday unless something unexpected happens and breaks, so I would have to stream. But for now, I want to wish everybody a good night and good luck this weekend. Have a great weekend.